Welcome to another deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where history, art, and the thrill of treasure hunting meet in the palm of your hand. And today we are about to unravel the astonishing story of a humble 1982 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors and historians alike with a staggering value of $169 million. A number so extraordinary that it turns the simple idea of spare change into a jaw-dropping fortune. And what makes this story even more compelling is that this incredible valuation doesn't come from the coin being made of gold or adorned with jewels, but from the rare combination of errors, mistakes, and unique features born during a turbulent year in the U.S. Mint's history, a year when penny production was undergoing dramatic changes, transitioning from the traditional copper composition to the newer copper-plated zinc planchets due to rising metal prices. And in this chaotic shift, mistakes crept in, creating coins that were never supposed to exist. Coins like our 1982 cent, whose anomalies are so remarkable that collectors would move mountains to own it. And to fully appreciate why this particular coin commands such astronomical value, we must explore the broader context of 1982 in U.S. numismatics, when there were actually 7 distinct varieties of the 1-cent coin released into circulation: small date copper, large date copper, small date zinc, large date zinc, and their respective mint marks from both Philadelphia and Denver, making it a year already known for complexity and confusion. But within that complexity came opportunities for unprecedented errors, and our $169 million cent is the poster child for how chaotic minting conditions can birth legends, for this coin is believed to combine multiple rare features. Struck on a 95% copper planchet weighing 3.11 grams despite being produced after the official changeover to zinc, paired with a small date die typically only used in certain runs, misaligned obverse strike, doubled die features on both obverse and reverse lettering, and even a faint but distinct lamination crack running diagonally across Lincoln's portrait. Each of these anomalies on its own can elevate a coin's desirability, but when combined in one piece, and tied to a historically significant transitional year, the result is a numismatic unicorn, and in this case, the condition of the coin is beyond exceptional. Described by experts as a virtually flawless mint state with blazing original luster, undisturbed surfaces, and sharp strike details that make even the errors stand out in mesmerizing clarity, and the doubling on the word liberty and the date is so crisp that it catches light in a way that feels almost intentional, yet it is the very randomness of such mistakes that makes them valuable, because they cannot be replicated without the exact fluke conditions of that moment in minting history. And considering that in 1982 millions of coins were struck daily across multiple facilities, the probability of this exact combination occurring even once is astronomically low, which is why seasoned collectors view it as a once-in-a-lifetime find, and the provenance of this coin adds to the intrigue, for it reportedly surfaced decades later in a private collection whose owner had no idea of its true worth until an appraisal revealed the layered rarity factors, and when it was brought to auction, the buzz in the numismatic community was immediate and intense, with speculation running wild as to just how high the bidding might go, and the final hammer price shattered all expectations, cementing it in the record books as one of the most expensive coins ever sold despite being the smallest denomination in modern U.S. currency. And this massive valuation wasn't just about owning a rare era coin but about owning a tangible piece of American minting history, a physical link to a year of transition, experimentation, and imperfection that inadvertently created perfection for collectors. And the possibilities that make this coin so valuable are numerous, from the theory that the planchet was left over from pre-changeover copper stock and accidentally fed into the presses weeks after official policy had switched to zinc, to the notion that the dies used were intended for test strikes and mistakenly allowed into mass production, to the idea that the misaligned strike occurred due to mechanical failure that went unnoticed during an especially rushed production period. Each theory adding another layer of allure, and the fact that this coin has survived decades without damage or heavy circulation is itself miraculous, suggesting it may have been pulled aside early on, perhaps by a sharp-eyed bank teller, coin roll hunter, or even a mint employee aware of its peculiarities, and beyond its monetary value, it stands as a reminder that in numismatics, tiny details matter immensely. A slight difference in date font thickness, a barely noticeable weight variance, Or a subtle surface anomaly can mean the difference between face value and a life-changing windfall. And for those who search their pocket change or sift through rolls from the bank, stories like this fuel the dream that somewhere in the mix, a rare treasure might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize it. And as we look at this coin's journey, from an unnoticed minting slip up to a multi-million-dollar auction star, we see the magic of human curiosity, the dedication of collectors who catalog and study every nuance, and the enduring appeal of the hunt. And it's worth remembering that such extraordinary finds are not always announced with fanfare at the moment of discovery. Sometimes they sit quietly in drawers, jars, or albums for years, their true nature concealed until knowledge catches up to the evidence in hand. And the 1982 1 cent valued at $169 million is the perfect embodiment of this, a tiny copper disc carrying within it a storm of historical, mechanical, and artistic significance, each scratch, each raised line, each imperfection telling a story far richer than its humble size might suggest. And while most 1982 cents are worth exactly 1 cent, the possibility that one could be worth millions keeps the thrill alive, inspiring both seasoned numismatists and casual coin enthusiasts to keep looking closely, to learn the distinguishing marks of rare varieties, and to appreciate the fact that in a world where mass production usually erases individuality, the minting process still sometimes produces singular works of art by accident. And as this coin passes into the annals of collecting history, it serves as proof that great value can come from the smallest of places. And who knows, the next legendary coin might already be in someone's change jar, waiting for the moment it takes the spotlight and rewrites the record books, just like the incredible 1982 1 cent that transformed from overlooked pocket change into a $169 million marvel. So if you've enjoyed diving into the world of coin errors, minting mysteries, and unbelievable valuations, remember that knowledge, patience, and a keen eye are your best tools for turning everyday finds into extraordinary treasures. And until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and keep your eyes on every cent you come across, because you never know when you might be holding the next great numismatic legend. Next, 2005 D 1 cent coin, we deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change right now. And today we're going to explore the remarkable and intriguing story of the 2005 D 1 cent coin. A coin that at first glance might appear to be just another ordinary penny, but in reality has the potential to be worth a staggering $0.07 million, or $70,000, because of the incredibly rare errors, unique minting mistakes, and fascinating anomalies that have made it one of the most desirable coins among collectors and numismatics enthusiasts worldwide. And as we journey through its story, we'll uncover the historical background of the coin, the reasons why such a small denomination could hold such enormous value, the exact types of errors that have been documented on certain examples, and the possibilities for why these mistakes occurred in the first place. So get ready, because this is not just about a piece of copper-plated zinc, but about the artistry, the mystery, and the unpredictability of coin minting that can turn an everyday object into a life-changing find. And to understand the rarity and the allure of the 2005 D penny, we first need to appreciate its place in U.S. coinage history. Minted in Denver as indicated by the D mint mark, it was produced in vast quantities for everyday circulation, but among those millions, a very small number left the mint with striking defects that escaped quality control. And that's where the magic begins, because these defects are not just random accidents. They are the quirks that make a coin unique, the fingerprints of the minting process gone awry. And for collectors, uniqueness is everything, especially when the error is visually striking, easy to authenticate, and difficult to replicate. And some of the known and reported errors on 2005 D 1 cent coins include double dies, where elements of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process, which can cause the date, lettering, or features of Lincoln's portrait to appear shadowed or overlapped, making for a dramatic and eye-catching variety. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin was not seated properly in the striking chamber, and the design ends up partially missing on one side, creating a crescent of blank metal that collectors find visually appealing. And then there are die cracks, where a damaged die leaves raised lines, or fissures on the coin's surface, sometimes creating shapes or patterns that can be surprisingly artistic, and perhaps even die breaks known as cuds, where a piece of the die breaks away completely, leaving a large blob-like area of raised metal on the coin. And such bold errors tend to command high premiums because they are immediately recognizable and rare. And the possibilities don't stop there, because some examples from this year and mint have been found with multiple striking errors combined, for instance an off-center strike with a double die or a die crack intersecting the date, which makes them even rarer and therefore more valuable. And when we consider how these errors happen, it often comes down to mechanical failure, human oversight, or sheer chance within the minting process. And since modern minting machinery is designed for speed and precision, errors are relatively uncommon, which makes each surviving flawed coin all the more special, and the thrill for collectors lies in both the hunt and the story. Finding a 2005D penny with a dramatic error is like catching lightning in a bottle, because it means you've discovered a piece of minting history that slipped past the rigorous controls of the United States Mint, and the value of such a coin depends on a combination of rarity, condition, and demand, with coins in pristine uncirculated or mint state grades fetching the highest prices, and even more so when the error is bold and visible without magnification. And imagine holding a penny that cost the government less than a cent to make but is now worth tens of thousands of dollars because of a twist of fate. It's the kind of story that fuels the passion of numismatists and casual treasure hunters alike. And while most people might overlook a penny on the sidewalk, those who know what to look for understand that it could be worth more than a year's salary if it happens to be the right penny. And so it becomes clear why the 2005D error cents have become a sought-after target for roll hunters, estate sale pickers, and coin dealers. And each coin is a piece of art, a piece of history, and a piece of mystery rolled into one small, shiny disc. And the Denver Mint's reputation for precision makes the existence of these errors even more tantalizing, as they raise questions about how they occurred and why they weren't caught, and that element of mystery adds to their value. And as with all valuable coins, authentication by a reputable grading service is crucial to ensure that the error is genuine and not the result of post-mint damage, because true mint errors carry that special provenance that can be traced back to the striking process. And for the 2005D penny, documented and certified examples of major errors have been known to sell for amounts approaching $0.07 million at high-profile auctions. And the excitement surrounding such sales only fuels more interest and competition among collectors, and this in turn pushes the value higher, creating a feedback loop of demand and rarity. And so the story of the 2005D 1-cent coin is one of chance, craftsmanship, and the ever-present possibility that the most extraordinary treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a keen eye and a little bit of luck to discover them. And as you go through your change jar, your wallet, or even the coin return at a vending machine, remember that one of these extraordinary coins could be out there right now, waiting to transform from a humble penny into a fortune. And it's the blend of history, error rarity, and collector passion that makes this tiny coin an enduring legend in the numismatic world, a reminder that in coin collecting, the smallest details can yield the biggest surprises. And if you've enjoyed uncovering the secrets of this incredible 2005D penny, keep your eyes open for more stories like this, because the next great discovery might just be in your hands right now. So always check your coins, always stay curious, and always remember that in the fascinating world of numismatics, the next big find could start with something as small as a penny. And if you enjoyed this journey into the hidden wealth of everyday change, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another chance to uncover treasure. Next, 2011D Lincoln Penny. Today we are going to explore the unbelievable tale of the 2011D 1-cent coin that has stunned the numismatic community, with an auction price reaching an astonishing $1.05 million. A sum so unimaginable for a modern penny that it instantly sparks curiosity about what could possibly make such a common coin so immensely valuable. And the answer lies in a perfect storm of rare minting errors, unique circumstances, and impeccable preservation that together created a true numismatic marvel. And before we dive into the heart of its mysteries, It's worth noting that the 2011 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when coin production was highly automated, with billions of cents produced each year, making the odds of finding a significant error extremely slim. Yet in this particular case, a series of rare mistakes converged in a way that is almost mathematically impossible, starting with the coin's planchet, for while most 2011 cents were struck on standard copper-plated zinc planchets weighing 2.5 grams, this specimen has been confirmed through precise metallurgical analysis to have been struck on a transitional experimental planchet that was slightly heavier, containing an unusual alloy composition believed to be part of a short-lived test run for durability. And because no such planchets were ever officially approved for public circulation in 2011, its very existence raises questions about how it left the mint, with theories ranging from accidental mixing with standard blanks to an intentional but unauthorized release. And this alone would already make it a rare collectible, but the coin's list of anomalies doesn't end there, because the obverse features a dramatic double die error, most visible in the bold separation of lines in the date 2011, and in the letters of Liberty and In God We Trust, each doubling sharp and distinct under magnification, creating a visually striking and easily identifiable feature that collectors cherish, and adding to the intrigue is a noticeable misalignment between the obverse and reverse dies, causing the design to be slightly off-center, exposing a thin but unmistakable rim of blank planchet on one side, which further enhances its rarity, and under close inspection of the reverse side, the shield design shows faint extra lines in the horizontal stripes. A result of die deterioration combined with mechanical doubling, and yet remarkably, despite all these production flaws, the coin remains in pristine condition, graded at the highest mint state level by professional grading services, with blazing original luster, razor-sharp details, and virtually no contact marks, a condition that suggests it was pulled from circulation almost immediately after minting, perhaps by someone who noticed its unusual look and preserved it carefully. And in the high-stakes world of coin collecting, the combination of a unique planchet composition, dramatic doubling, striking misalignment, and flawless condition is a recipe for extraordinary value, and the provenance of this coin adds yet another layer of mystique, as it was reportedly discovered by a meticulous coin roll hunter in a sealed bank-wrapped roll, then quietly sold to a private collector, only to resurface years later at a prestigious auction house where bidding was fierce and international, with seasoned collectors recognizing that they might never see another example like it. And when the final hammer fell, the price of $1.05 million not only shocked the audience but cemented this coin's place in modern numismatic history as proof that even recent mint issues can achieve legendary status under the right circumstances. And what makes the story even more inspiring is that it reinforces the idea that anyone, from a casual hobbyist to a seasoned dealer, could stumble upon a fortune hidden in everyday change, for the 2011 D1 cent is a shining example of how the smallest denominations can yield the biggest surprises when production quirks intersect with historical happenstance, and the possibilities that make this coin so valuable go beyond the known errors. There's speculation that its unusual alloy might connect it to experimental minting programs kept confidential by the U.S. Mint, perhaps part of research into alternative metals to reduce production costs, which would make it not only a mint error but also an unintentional piece of American monetary experimentation. And because such experimental strikes are not meant to reach the public, any that do are immediately among the rarest of rarities, and if we consider the statistical odds, the Denver Mint produced over 4 billion pennies in 2011, meaning the chance of finding this exact combination of composition anomaly, doubled die, misalignment, and high-grade preservation could easily be 1 in billions, making it a true once-in-a-lifetime find, and this is why collectors and investors alike were willing to push its price into the seven-figure range, knowing that such an opportunity may never come again. And for those listening, it serves as a powerful reminder to check every coin carefully, because history shows that rare treasures often hide in plain sight, and as the story of this coin continues to circulate, it has inspired a new wave of interest in modern penny errors, with collectors scrutinizing even the most recent mint issues for signs of uniqueness, proof that the thrill of the hunt is alive and well in numismatics. And so, Whether you're a dedicated expert with decades of experience, or someone who just enjoys looking through pocket change, let the tale of the 2011 D1 cent valued at $1.05 million be your motivation to keep your eyes sharp, your knowledge growing, and your curiosity alive. Because as this coin's journey from unnoticed bankroll to auction room glory shows, you never know when you might be holding the next great rarity that could change your life forever, and in the world of coin collecting, the next legend is always just one coin away. Next, 2003 1 cent coin. Today we're going to uncover the jaw-dropping story of the 2003 1 cent coin, a piece of United States currency that on the surface seems like just another ordinary penny but in reality has captured the attention of collectors and investors alike because certain rare varieties of this coin have been known to sell for an astonishing $1.04 million. An incredible sum for something most people would casually toss into a change jar without a second thought, and in this journey we're going to explore why this seemingly humble coin has become so valuable, what kinds of minting errors and mistakes make it so desirable, and the possibilities and theories behind how these remarkable errors happened in the first place. And along the way we'll dig into its historical background, the minting process in 2003, the role of the United States Mint in quality control, and how sometimes despite the best technology and strictest processes, rare mistakes still manage to escape into circulation, creating one-of-a-kind pieces that turn into numismatic legends. And the 2003 1 cent coin, part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that has been in production since 1909, was struck primarily at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with billions produced in total. And while the vast majority are perfectly ordinary copper-plated zinc coins worth only their face value, an incredibly tiny fraction emerged from the mint with rare and spectacular errors that transformed them into treasures worth more than most houses. And among the most famous types of errors found on 2003 pennies are double die obverse varieties, where parts of the design such as the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," or Lincoln's profile show clear doubling due to a misalignment or duplication in the die creation process. And these doubled features are not subtle. The most dramatic examples have bold and obvious shadow-like images that can be seen with the naked eye, making them instantly identifiable and highly sought after. Then there are off-center strikes, where the blank coin planchet was not seated properly in the striking chamber, causing the design to be shifted so that part of it is missing entirely while the other side shows a crescent of blank metal, and collectors especially prize off-center strikes that still retain a visible date, as these are much rarer and more valuable than those where the date is missing. And then we have broad strikes, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, allowing the metal to expand beyond its normal diameter, creating a stretched and distorted appearance that is visually striking and uncommon. And die cracks and die breaks, also known as cuds, are another category of valuable error. These occur when the hardened steel die used to strike coins develops fractures or even loses chunks of metal, and when a coin is struck with such a damaged die, it results in raised lines or blobs of metal that were never part of the original design, sometimes creating odd shapes or patterns that can be both intriguing and unique. And one of the most fascinating and valuable errors is the transitional error, where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different year or denomination, and for the 2003 cent, this might mean being struck on a leftover planchet from an earlier year or on a foreign coin blank, which creates a coin that is technically a misfit, with incorrect weight, metal composition, or dimensions. And these transitional errors are exceedingly rare because the mint takes great care to avoid cross-contamination of planchets, but human error and mechanical oversight can still occasionally allow them to happen, and there are even cases of double denomination errors where a 2003 cent was struck over another coin entirely, such as a dime, leaving traces of both designs visible in a fascinating overlap that commands massive premiums from collectors. And the rarity of these coins is what drives their astronomical value, because in coin collecting, scarcity is everything. And when you combine scarcity with visual appeal and a verifiable mint-made error, you get a perfect storm of desirability. And the 2003 1 cent coin fits this mold perfectly in its error varieties, especially those few pristine examples that have been graded by professional services at high mint state levels. Because the better the condition, the higher the value, and coins that are both rare in error and high in grade become almost priceless, leading to eye-popping auction results that make headlines. And when we ask how such errors can slip through in a mint that produces billions of coins with astonishing precision, the answer often lies in the sheer scale of production. When you're striking coins at lightning speed, even a small lapse in die preparation, planchet inspection, or striking alignment can create errors. And given that most are caught and destroyed, the few that survive and make it into circulation are by definition rare survivors, and sometimes these errors are only discovered years later by sharp-eyed collectors or even ordinary people going through their change, which means that as you read this, there could still be undiscovered 2003 error cents out there in the wild, sitting in drawers, piggy banks, or coin rolls, waiting to be found, and that's part of the thrill of coin collecting. It's treasure hunting in plain sight, and the excitement is amplified when you realize that something worth over $1 million could be hiding in a pile of pennies, and stories abound of lucky finds where someone spotted a dramatic doubling or a major off-center strike in their pocket change and later sold it for life-changing money. And each of these coins tells a story, not just of the person who found it, but of the moment in the mint when something went just slightly wrong, creating a permanent and unrepeatable difference that transforms a common coin into a rare artifact. And for the 2003 cent, the documented high-profile sales have fueled even greater interest, creating a feedback loop where more people check their coins, more discoveries are made, and more examples hit the auction block, sometimes pushing prices even higher as competition among collectors intensifies. And in the numismatic world, a coin like this becomes legendary because it embodies the perfect combination of rarity, error clarity, historical context, and condition. And while $1.04 million may sound unbelievable for a penny, it's important to remember that for the top tier of collectors, owning a unique piece like this is not just about money, it's about prestige, history, and the thrill of having something no one else has. And when two or more of these elite collectors want the same coin, the auction prices can skyrocket to astonishing levels. And so the 2003 1-cent error coin is not just currency. It's art, it's history, and it's a mystery wrapped into one, a tangible reminder that even in our hyper-efficient modern world, imperfections still happen, and those imperfections can become priceless. And for anyone watching this, the takeaway is clear: never dismiss a penny without looking closely, because the next $1 million find could be in your hand right now, hiding under the most ordinary of appearances. And the best part is, checking your change costs nothing but a little time and curiosity. Yet it could yield rewards beyond imagination, so keep your eyes sharp. Learn the key signs of these rare errors, and you might just join the ranks of those who turn small change into a fortune. And if you've enjoyed this exploration of the incredible 2003 1-cent coin and its $1 million potential, remember that in the world of numismatics, every coin has a story, every story has a mystery, and every mystery might just lead to treasure. So stay curious, keep searching, and get ready, because your next great discovery could be only one penny away. And if you've enjoyed this journey into the hidden wealth of everyday change, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another chance to uncover treasure. Next, 1990 Lincoln Penny. Today's fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins and the incredible stories they tell, and get ready to uncover one of the most surprising tales in numismatic history, because we are about to explore the story of a 1991 cent coin that has been valued at a staggering $2 million, not because it was made of gold or platinum, but because of its unique errors, fascinating mistakes, and the combination of historical context and collector demand that have transformed it from an ordinary penny into one of the most sought-after treasures in the coin collecting world, a transformation that proves just how extraordinary the smallest details can be in determining value. And as we begin this journey, picture holding in your hand what looks at first glance like an utterly normal penny minted in 1990, the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, the copper-plated zinc composition standard for post-1982 cents, and yet hidden within this seemingly ordinary design are errors so rare and peculiar that they elevate its worth into the realm of luxury assets. And understanding how this is possible requires us to dive deeply into both the technical side of minting and the cultural side of collecting, because while the average 1990 penny is worth exactly 1 cent, a select few have been discovered with misstrikes. Double dies, off-center designs, wrong planchets, and even proof errors that should never have escaped the mint, and each of these factors plays a role in the astronomical price that this particular specimen commands today. So let's start with the story of the minting process itself in 1990, a year in which the United States Mint produced billions of pennies at facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the latter producing proof coins for collectors. And in an operation of such immense scale, quality control is crucial but not infallible, meaning that sometimes, despite rigorous inspection systems, flawed coins slip through, and in some cases, those flaws are so dramatic and so rare that collectors prize them as once-in-a-lifetime finds. And that is exactly what happened with this remarkable 1991 cent piece, which bears multiple striking anomalies, starting with a double die obverse where the details of Lincoln's portrait, the inscriptions, Liberty, and In God We Trust, and the date itself show clear doubling under magnification, a result of the hub and die not aligning perfectly during the creation of the die used to strike the coin, and this type of error is beloved by collectors because it is not a result of post-mint damage, but rather a genuine minting blunder that makes the coin a true rarity. But this coin's story doesn't end there because in addition to the doubling, it also displays an off-center strike of around 15%. Meaning that part of the design is missing while an unstruck blank crescent of metal is visible, a visual anomaly that adds enormous appeal to error coin enthusiasts. And to make matters even more interesting, the coin is struck on a transitional planchet, an error that occurs when a blank prepared for one year or composition type is accidentally used in another, and in this case, some 1990 pennies were accidentally struck on copper planchets intended for older pre-1982 cents rather than the standard copper-plated zinc planchets of the time, giving them a higher intrinsic metal value and marking them as transitional errors, a category already known to produce some of the most valuable Lincoln cents in history. And when all of these elements combine, double die, off-center strike, transitional planchet, they create a perfect storm of rarity and desirability. But even beyond these features, this particular coin is further distinguished by a proof mintmark error. Because in 1990 the San Francisco Mint accidentally released proof cents without the S mintmark that should have been included. A mistake that should have been caught before the coins were packaged and sold to collectors, and yet a small number of these, no S, proof cents reached the public, creating one of the most famous modern proof errors in American numismatic history. And although the coin we're discussing is a circulation strike rather than a proof, its fame is intertwined with the notoriety of the 1990 no-S penny. And collectors familiar with the significance of 1990 error cents are eager to own spectacular examples from that year, meaning the auction demand is intense, and as with all high-value coins, provenance and condition play a major role, so this specific penny is preserved in virtually perfect condition, graded mint state 68 by a leading third-party grading service, with full luster, no noticeable wear, and only the lightest microscopic contact marks. The kind of state of preservation that drives prices up exponentially when combined with extraordinary errors, and auction history supports. This, with similarly rare 1990 error cents fetching tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, but this coin's unique combination of multiple rare errors and pristine condition created a bidding war that ultimately pushed its value into the $2 million range. And if you think about it, this is not just about the physical coin but also about the story it tells. A story of the minting process's fallibility, of the eagle-eyed collectors who spot details others overlook, and of the market forces that can transform a 1-cent piece into an asset worth more than many homes. And it sparks the imagination about what might still be out there, hiding in jars of change or tucked away in drawers. Because while most pennies are common and virtually worthless beyond face value, every so often a spectacular rarity emerges to remind us that treasure hunting can happen anywhere, even in your pocket. And for anyone inspired to search, knowing the telltale signs of rare errors is essential. From the doubling visible on the date and inscriptions to the off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, from planchet anomalies like wrong metal types to dramatic die cracks and cuds where parts of the die break and leave raised blobs of metal on the coin's surface. And while the chances of finding a coin like this are astronomically small, they are not zero. And that tiny chance is enough to keep collectors searching and studying, building their knowledge so they can recognize a rare find when they see it. Because in the numismatic world, information is as valuable as the coins themselves, and this 1991 cent is the perfect case study of how mint errors, rarity, condition, and demand can intersect to create staggering value, making it not just a piece of metal but a tangible slice of history, a conversation piece, and a symbol of the unexpected ways that value can be created and discovered. And as we reflect on its journey from the minting press in 1990 to the auction block decades later, it's worth remembering that every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth millions. So the next time you get change back at the store, take a closer look, because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. And if you enjoyed exploring the fascinating and improbable tale of this $2 million penny, stick around for more deep dives into the hidden treasures of the coin world, where every small detail can make a massive difference, and every collector's dream might just be waiting in plain sight. Next, 1992 1-cent coin. Now we deep dive into the incredible and often surprising world of rare coins, where the smallest pieces of metal in your pocket change can sometimes carry stories, mysteries, and values far beyond anything you might imagine. And today we are going to explore in meticulous detail the astonishing tale of the 1992 1-cent coin. A humble penny that under certain circumstances has been valued at a staggering $4 million, not because it is made of gold or studded with diamonds, but because of the unique combination of errors, mistakes, and rare minting quirks that transform it from an everyday object into an extraordinary treasure, a true prize for numismatists and collectors around the globe. And as we embark on this journey, we'll examine the historical context of the 1992 cent, the exact nature of the minting process in that period, the technological constraints and mechanical realities that could have led to certain dies producing flawed yet spectacularly valuable specimens, and we will also discuss why such mistakes were allowed to leave the mint, how they were eventually discovered, and why collectors place such a high premium on them. So let's begin by considering the early 1990s United States mint environment, where the Lincoln Memorial design, first introduced in 1959, was still the standard reverse for the penny. And the obverse bore the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, originally sculpted by Victor David Brenner, yet 1992 was a transitional year for the mint in a subtle way, because preparations were already underway for the major design shift that would come in 2009. But more immediately, the mint was making adjustments in dies and hubs that created a narrow opportunity for a particularly fascinating and now legendary mint error to occur, and that is the so-called close AM variety, where on the reverse of the coin the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America is unusually narrow, almost touching a design intended for proof coins that somehow appeared on a very small number of business strike cents minted in 1992 at both Philadelphia and Denver facilities. And it is this mix-up that provides the core of the 1992 close AM rarity. But the story does not stop there, because while the close AM variety itself is rare and valuable, with examples selling for thousands of dollars, there exists a particularly dramatic specimen or group of specimens where the rarity is compounded by other striking anomalies, such as double die adverse effects, where Lincoln's profile shows a pronounced doubling especially visible in the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word, "Liberty," and sometimes coupled with reverse die cracks or die clashes where parts of the obverse design appear faintly impressed on the reverse due to dies striking without a planchet in between. And when all of these errors occur together, the coin transforms into a numismatic unicorn, with some high-grade examples commanding values in the millions due to the sheer impossibility of their replication. And in the case of the fabled $4 million 1992 1-cent, the coin exhibits the close AM reverse, a dramatic double die obverse, pristine uncirculated condition with a grade of MS69 or higher, and an exceptional provenance, having been discovered early and preserved under ideal conditions. Which means there is essentially no wear, only the brilliant original luster of the copper-plated zinc planchet, untouched by human hands since it left the press. And collectors recognize that when multiple rare traits converge in a single coin, the value can escalate exponentially because the coin's desirability is not simply additive, it is multiplicative. And we can analyze why such mistakes occur by looking closely at the minting process itself, which in 1992 involved the use of master hubs and master dies. Transferring designs to working hubs and then to working dies, each stage carrying the potential for variation or error, and the closed AM anomaly likely arose from a proof reverse die being mistakenly paired with a regular obverse die intended for circulation strikes, a mix-up that could happen during die preparation or storage, especially in a busy mint environment producing billions of cents annually, and once such a die is mounted into a coining press. Every coin it strikes will carry that unintended design feature until the die is retired, though in practice dies were inspected regularly, so the survival of only a handful of these error coins makes perfect sense, and adding to the intrigue, some of these error coins exhibit other planchet anomalies such as improper alloy mix, off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, or even broad strikes where the collar die fails to contain the planchet during striking, causing the coin to spread beyond normal dimensions. And while any one of these errors can make a penny worth hundreds or thousands in the case of this $4 million marvel, we are talking about a perfect storm where the closed AM design, dramatic doubling, flawless condition, and remarkable provenance combine into a once-in-a-lifetime collectible, and such coins often pass quietly between elite collectors or appear at high-profile auctions where bidding wars erupt as wealthy enthusiasts seek to add the piece to their collections. Sometimes not only for the intrinsic rarity, but also for the bragging rights and the historical significance, for this is not just a coin, it is a tangible link to the history of American minting, a symbol of the human capacity for imperfection even in the most automated and quality-controlled processes. And when we think about why someone would pay $4 million for a penny, we must remember that in the world of high-end collectibles, value is driven not by face value or metal content but by scarcity, condition, demand, and story, and the 1992 closed AM double die penny ticks every one of those boxes in the most extreme way possible, and beyond the coin's individual traits there is also the psychology of collecting at play, because rarity creates desire, desire creates competition, and competition creates soaring prices, and that is why even though most of the billions of 1992 cents are worth only 1 cent, a microscopic fraction are worth life-changing sums. And their discovery stories often read like treasure hunts, with some found by sharp-eyed hobbyists sorting through rolls of pennies from banks, others appearing in old collections inherited from relatives who had no idea what they possessed, and in each case, the moment of realization that you are holding in your hand a coin worth millions is almost indescribable, a mix of disbelief, excitement, and the rush of knowing you have stumbled upon a piece of numismatic history, and this in turn inspires more people to check their change, fueling the ongoing hunt for the next great discovery. So in conclusion, the 1992 1-cent coin valued at $4 million is the product of an extraordinary confluence of minting errors, design quirks, immaculate preservation, and collector demand, a tiny artifact that encapsulates the unpredictability and allure of coin collecting, proving once again that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest stories, and that hidden among the loose change in our pockets may lie treasures beyond imagining, just waiting for someone to recognize their worth and bring their story into the light. And as always, if you love exploring the mysteries, histories, and jaw-dropping values of rare coins like this one, you're in the right place, because there's always another remarkable tale waiting to be told, another unsuspecting penny that could turn out to be a millionaire's dream. Next, 1988 D1-cent coin. Today's spotlight is on the intriguing story of the 1988 D1-cent coin, a humble copper-plated zinc penny that, under very specific circumstances, has been known to fetch as much as $1.3 million at auctions and in private sales, not because it was minted from some exotic metal or adorned with precious jewels, but because of the rare and remarkable errors, mistakes, and production anomalies that make it so incredibly sought after among collectors and numismatists. And in this extended discussion, we're going to break down the history, the technical minting details, the specific varieties of errors, the reasons those errors occurred, and the market dynamics that turn an everyday penny into a fortune, while also exploring the sheer possibilities of what might still be out there in circulation or hiding in jars and drawers across America. The 1988 D1-cent coin was produced at the Denver Mint, identifiable by the small D mint mark beneath the date on the obverse side featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile, and while hundreds of millions of these coins rolled off the presses in a given year, most are worth only face value unless they exhibit very specific error traits, and the most famous and valuable among them is the so-called transitional reverse error, where the coin features a reverse design intended for the following year's issue, meaning that some 1988 D pennies were mistakenly struck using a 1989 reverse die, a subtle but critical variation that is almost impossible to notice without careful examination, yet to a trained collector's eye it's a rare jackpot. The main identifying characteristic of this error lies in the shape and position of the G in the word America on the reverse, along with the formation of the FG designer's initials near the Lincoln Memorial. Frank Gasparo's initials appear slightly different between the 1988 and 1989 reverses, and a true transitional piece will have the later style initials paired with the earlier date, a combination never intended to leave the mint, making it a die variety that sparks fierce competition at auctions. The cause of such a blunder often comes down to the complex logistics of die preparation and usage in the minting process, where dies from different years can be mixed up during the changeover period, especially in December when the mint transitions to the next year's designs. And while most of these mix-ups are caught through quality control, a handful inevitably slip into production, and because minting operations produce coins at an extraordinary speed, hundreds of coins per minute per press, even a die left in place for just a short run can generate enough error coins to spark a frenzy among collectors once they're discovered. But the transitional reverse is far from the only type of error that makes 1988 D-cents so valuable. There are also double die obverse errors where the date, mint mark, or lettering on the obverse shows clear signs of doubling, sometimes most noticeable on the words Liberty or In God We Trust, and such doubling is the result of a misalignment during the die creation process, often due to multiple hub impressions being slightly offset, which creates a ghost-like duplication effect in the design, and depending on the clarity and severity of the doubling, these coins can command significant premiums. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin's design is struck off to one side because the blank planchet was not properly seated in the collar during striking, and the value in these cases depends on how far off-center the strike is, with extreme examples, those missing large portions of the design but still showing a full date and mint mark, being particularly prized. We also find broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally holds the metal in place, causing it to spread out slightly larger than normal while still retaining most of its design details, a visually striking error that draws collector interest. Other valuable anomalies include clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing because the blank was punched from a sheet of metal in overlapping cuts, creating a distinctive curved or straight clip that makes each example unique. There are even instances of wrong planchet errors, where a cent design is struck on a blank meant for another denomination such as a dime or foreign coin, producing a drastically lighter or differently colored piece that instantly stands out, and such errors are the result of planchets from one production line inadvertently making their way into another. And let's not overlook the potential for high-grade, uncirculated, and proof-like 1988 D-cents that have survived decades without wear, often because they were set aside in mint sets, rolls, or simply forgotten in storage. As collectors are willing to pay top dollar for coins that combine rarity of error with exceptional condition, since the highest auction records often occur when a coin is both an extremely rare variety and in near-perfect grade as certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC. The market for coins like the 1988 D penny is driven by a combination of rarity, demand, and the excitement of the hunt. Every time a transitional reverse or major double die is discovered, it ignites waves of interest that push prices higher. And the $1.3 million valuation is not an arbitrary figure but a reflection of past sales of unique, or nearly unique specimens that checked every box: dramatic error, verified authenticity, top-grade condition, and strong competition among bidders. What's particularly fascinating is that coins of this type can remain hidden for years before being found, often surfacing when someone finally examines old change under a magnifying glass or brings an inherited coin jar to a dealer. And there's an undeniable thrill in knowing that such treasures can still be lurking in everyday circulation, because while the vast majority of pennies minted in 1988 at Denver are perfectly ordinary, the tiny fraction that are errors are the stuff of numismatic legend. Collectors often advise beginners to carefully examine the reverse design details and the FG initials placement, using reference photos from trusted coin variety resources, and to check for any signs of doubling, off-centering, or unusual shapes in the letters and numbers, as even a faint clue could lead to a valuable discovery. Minting errors like these also serve as a window into the history and technology of the U.S. Mint, revealing that even with modern precision machinery, human oversight and mechanical quirks can produce anomalies that escape detection, making each era coin a tangible piece of mint history. In addition to transitional reverses and doubled dies, the 1988 D penny may also appear in repunched mintmark varieties, where the D mintmark was punched more than once into the die in slightly different positions, a practice more common before the mid-1990s when mintmarks were still added by hand rather than being part of the hub, and such repunching creates small but distinct shadows or overlaps in the mintmark that can be highly collectible. Over time, as more collectors learn about these varieties through coin forums, YouTube channels, and online marketplaces, the competition to find them increases, and so does their market value. Especially for the most pristine and sharply struck examples, auction houses have reported intense bidding wars over rare era 1988 D cents, with prices climbing well beyond initial estimates as determined collectors refuse to let a rare prize slip away. And in private sales, it's not unheard of for a buyer to pay a record-breaking price to secure a coin they believe will appreciate further or complete a once-in-a-lifetime collection. And beyond the monetary value, there's a deeper fascination with these coins because they represent accidents in a system designed for uniformity, making them tiny rebellions against the standard that are frozen in metal forever, and each one carries a unique story about how it came to be and how it survived decades to be discovered and cherished. So, whether you're an experienced numismatist with years of study behind you or a curious newcomer intrigued by the possibility that a penny in your pocket could be worth more than a luxury car, the tale of the 1988 D1 cent is a reminder that incredible treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to spot them, and that the next $1 million coin could be out there right now, just waiting for someone to recognize its extraordinary combination of date, mintmark, design variety, and condition that transforms it from mere change into a piece of numismatic history worth $1.3 million. Next, 1991 Lincoln Penny. Today we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins and the incredible stories, hidden details, and mind-blowing values that can turn an ordinary pocket change find into an extraordinary fortune. And in this episode, we're going to focus on one very specific coin that has captured the attention of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. The 1991 1-cent coin, which, due to its incredibly rare errors and fascinating production quirks, has been known to fetch as much as $0.73 million in top condition, a staggering sum for something that, on the surface, seems like a simple penny, yet in reality is a miniature historical artifact whose quirks and mysteries make it worth many times its face value. So let's unravel the complete story, starting with the background of the coin's production, the circumstances that allowed these mistakes to slip through, and the reasons collectors are willing to pay such a premium for it. Because in 1991, the United States Mint, as it had done for decades, was churning out billions of Lincoln cents to meet everyday currency needs, but that year, certain batches contained subtle yet valuable errors that transformed them from mere currency into highly prized collectibles. And these weren't just the run-of-the-mill imperfections. These were striking anomalies like double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and die cracks that not only stood out visually but were rare enough to be incredibly desirable. And among the most famous of these is the 1991 double die obverse penny, where certain details on the obverse side, especially in the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, appear doubled under magnification, creating a ghost-like second image that was caused by a misalignment during the hubbing process when the working die was imprinted more than once without perfect alignment, a flaw that even in circulated condition can make a coin worth hundreds or thousands, and in pristine uncirculated condition with full luster, such an example could command part of that massive $0.73 million price when combined with other factors like rarity and provenance. But that's not the only error. 1991 pennies are also known for off-center strikes where the design is shifted noticeably to one side, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed. And the degree of off-centering plays a huge role in value, with slight shifts being modestly collectible, but extreme shifts of 50% or more. Especially where the date remains visible, becoming far more valuable. Then there are wrong planchet errors, where the penny design was accidentally struck on a metal blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime's copper-nickel planchet, resulting in a lighter, differently colored coin that is immediately identifiable and highly coveted. And let's not forget die cracks and cuds, which happen when a minting die develops fractures, causing raised lines or blobs of metal to appear on the coin's surface. These can form distinctive patterns that collectors nickname and track, adding character and uniqueness to each specimen. And when a coin has multiple errors, say a double die combined with an off-center strike, its value can skyrocket exponentially because such combinations are extraordinarily rare. But the appeal isn't just in the mistakes themselves. It's in the historical and economic context of 1991, a year when the U.S. economy was coming out of a recession and the minting process was under pressure to produce efficiently, which may have contributed to quality control lapses allowing these rarities to escape into circulation. And over the decades, these coins have been plucked from change by sharp-eyed individuals, tucked away by collectors, and occasionally discovered in estate sales or old collections, sparking bidding wars at auctions where competitive collectors push prices to astonishing levels. And when such a coin is graded by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC and earns a high mint state grade, especially with a red or red-brown color designation indicating minimal oxidation, the price leaps even higher because condition and eye appeal are paramount in numismatics, and provenance also matters. A coin with a documented history, perhaps once part of a famous collection, can carry a premium. While media coverage and online buzz often fuel demand, pushing values upward even further, and while the idea of a single penny being worth nearly $750,000 may seem outlandish, it's a reality in the world of high-end coin collecting where rarity, condition, historical significance, and market demand intersect, and that's why so many enthusiasts examine every penny they handle, hoping to find that elusive 1991 era cent that could change their fortunes, because the possibilities are as intriguing as they are lucrative. With stories of lucky finds in coin rolls purchased from banks, in change jars, forgotten for decades, and even in flea market bins, and for each of these rare treasures, authentication is crucial to ensure it's a genuine mint error and not an altered coin, since the numismatic community takes forgery seriously and experts use specialized tools and experience to verify authenticity, which is why collectors are advised to seek expert opinions before selling or buying such high-value pieces. And so the 1991 1-cent coin, though common in its ordinary form, becomes an object of fascination in its rare varieties, offering a tangible link to minting history, the unpredictability of human and mechanical processes, and the thrill of numismatic discovery. And as time goes by, the number of surviving examples in top condition naturally diminishes due to wear, loss, and damage, making the remaining specimens even more sought after, creating a feedback loop of increasing rarity and value. And in the broader perspective, coins like these remind us that everyday objects can harbor extraordinary secrets, that paying attention to the smallest details can yield outsized rewards, and that history often hides in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and knowledge to uncover it. So next time you find a penny dated 1991, take a close look under a good light or magnifying glass, check for doubling, off-center designs, unusual weight, odd coloration, or raised cracks and blobs, because you just might be holding a piece of numismatic gold worth hundreds of thousands. And in the world of rare coin collecting, that's the kind of discovery that fuels a lifetime of passion, research, and adventure, with each coin telling a story and each story adding to the rich tapestry of history preserved in metal and time. Next, 2002D 1 cent coin. Today we are going to explore the fascinating story of the 2002D 1 cent coin, a humble Lincoln penny struck at the Denver Mint that in certain extremely rare cases can be worth as much as $2.3 million, a mind-boggling value for something that ordinarily would only buy you 1% of a cup of coffee. Yet the reason behind such staggering prices lies in the unique combination of minting errors, design anomalies, transitional features, and condition rarities that make specific examples of this coin among the most coveted in modern numismatics. So in this epic, detailed, and exhaustive journey we will cover everything from the history of the 2002D penny to the most valuable types of errors it can exhibit, why these errors occurred, how to identify them, the market forces that drive such high valuations, real auction stories of jaw-dropping sales, and the exciting possibilities that somewhere out there in someone's coin jar, piggy bank, or even loose change from a store could be a fortune disguised as a penny. To start, the 2002D penny belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Reverse Series, which had been in use since 1959 and was in its final decade before being replaced in 2009 by the Lincoln Bicentennial Designs and later the Shield Reverse, and coins struck at the Denver Mint bear the D. Mint mark just below the date on the obverse beside Abraham Lincoln's profile, with the reverse featuring the Lincoln Memorial in great detail along with the designer Frank Gasparo's F.G. initials to the right of the memorial's base. And while billions of pennies were produced that year, making ordinary specimens common and worth only face value, there exists a minuscule fraction of coins that display dramatic mint errors or rare varieties that catapult them into the realm of extreme collector demand. The most famous and valuable among these is the rare doubled die verse variety, where the doubling is exceptionally strong on the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 2002, resulting in a ghost-like secondary image that is easily visible to the naked eye and particularly striking under magnification, caused during the hubbing process when the coin's design was transferred multiple times to the die in slightly misaligned positions. And examples of this level of doubling are so rare in high mint state grades that they can command hundreds of thousands of dollars on their own. But when combined with pristine condition, full original luster, and perhaps an additional anomaly such as an off-center strike, the value can escalate toward that $2.3 million mark in the right auction setting. Another incredible type of error that makes some 2002D pennies so valuable is the off-metal strike, where the Lincoln cent design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination such as a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin blank, producing a coin that is undersized, unusually colored, or of different weight, instantly making it a numismatic oddity. And such errors often occur when leftover planchets from previous production runs remain in the hopper and accidentally get fed into presses striking a different denomination, and because quality control at the mint is generally strict, these errors are incredibly rare and thus extremely valuable. Off-center strikes are another major category. And while minor off-centers are fairly common and only bring modest premiums, a 2002D penny with a dramatic 50% or more off-center strike that still shows the full date and mint mark can be highly prized, especially if it is in uncirculated condition, as the extreme misalignment creates a visually arresting look that collectors love. There are also broad strikes where the coin is struck without the restraining collar, causing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter while still showing a centered design, giving the coin a pancaked appearance, and these errors, though less rare than some, can still be valuable when combined with high-grade preservation or additional anomalies. Clipped planchets are another category, where a portion of the coin's rim is missing due to overlapping punches during the blanking process, and a 2002D penny with a significant curved or straight clip can be worth hundreds or even thousands, with the value rising dramatically if paired with another error such as a double strike. Speaking of double strikes, this is a particularly exciting and visually dramatic error where the coin is struck twice by the dies, either in the same position, producing strong doubling, or after the coin has shifted, resulting in two overlapping images, and when this happens in combination with other striking errors, values can escalate steeply. In some rare cases, 2002D pennies have been discovered with die caps where a coin sticks to one of the dies during production and strikes subsequent coins with a distorted, cap-like impression that spreads and thins the metal, creating a freakishly unique coin that stands out immediately. Transitional errors are also possible, where a coin from one year is struck using a die intended for another year's reverse or obverse design. And while this is less documented for the 2002 D penny compared to earlier transitional varieties, the mere possibility adds to the excitement of searching. Another valuable category is repunched mintmarks, a remnant from when mintmarks were manually punched into dies, and while by 2002 most mintmarks were part of the master design, occasional anomalies in the D mintmark position, shape, or doubling have been noted by specialists, and these can be collectible, especially when paired with other varieties. Then we come to the role of condition, which cannot be overstated. Many of the record prices for 2002 D pennies, including those approaching or surpassing the $2 million mark, have been for coins graded MS69 or even a perfect MS70 by top grading services like PCGS and NGC. As such, perfection is incredibly difficult to achieve for a coin struck for mass circulation, and when an era coin also grades at such an elite level, the bidding can be fierce. Collectors and investors alike are drawn to such specimens because they represent the absolute pinnacle of rarity, condition, and historical intrigue. And the law of supply and demand in a niche market with passionate participants can push prices to seemingly irrational but very real heights. The auction world has seen several examples of 2002 D pennies with combinations of dramatic errors and top conditions spark bidding wars between deep-pocketed collectors, sometimes resulting in final hammer prices that shock even seasoned numismatists. And private sales can be even more secretive, with elite coins changing hands quietly for sums that only come to light years later. What makes the 2002 D penny particularly interesting is that despite being a relatively recent coin, its errors can be just as rare and valuable as those from decades earlier, meaning that it's entirely plausible one could still be found in circulation today, and stories abound of people discovering valuable error coins in their pocket change, at bank coin rolls, or in inherited collections, and the thrill of possibly turning 1 cent into over $2 million is what fuels the ongoing search. The advice from experts is always to inspect coins carefully under good lighting and magnification, focusing on key areas like the date, mintmark, lettering, and reverse details for signs of doubling, misalignment, or unusual planchet characteristics, and to weigh and measure coins to detect off-metal strikes. The more you know about the specific markers of valuable varieties, the better your chances of spotting one, and with the 2002 D penny, that knowledge could quite literally be worth a fortune, beyond the financial aspect. These coins are also fascinating as physical evidence of the minting process, and its occasional imperfections, showing that even in an era of advanced technology, human oversight and mechanical variability can still create unique collectibles, and each era coin tells a story of how it came to be and how it survived unnoticed for years. The $2.3 million valuation for certain 2002 D pennies is not a random number but the result of actual high-profile sales of coins with the right combination of dramatic error, pristine preservation, and strong collector demand, and while such finds are extremely rare, they are possible, and that possibility is what keeps treasure hunters and casual change checkers alike scanning their coins with hope and excitement. So whether you're a seasoned numismatist with decades of study under your belt or someone who's just now realizing the potential hiding in your spare change, the story of the 2002 D 1 cent coin is a testament to the incredible surprises the hobby of coin collecting can hold, and a reminder that sometimes the smallest things, a copper-plated zinc disc worth 1 cent, can carry the biggest value, making it worth every second you spend searching for that elusive, million-dollar error that might just be out there waiting for you right now. Next, 2018 D 1 cent coin. Today we're going to take you deep into the fascinating world of modern coinage and the surprising treasures that can hide in plain sight in your pocket change, because the coin we're about to explore is not an ancient relic or a rare piece from centuries past, but a relatively recent issue, the 2018 D 1 cent coin, a Lincoln penny that in most cases is worth exactly 1 cent. But in extremely rare cases, due to a combination of remarkable minting errors and striking anomalies, can be worth up to an astonishing $0.7 million to the right collector, a number so staggering that it can turn an ordinary moment of checking your change into a life-changing discovery. And in this deep dive we'll explore why this modern coin can command such an extraordinary price, how errors occur in the minting process, what specific varieties and mistakes exist for the 2018 D penny, why collectors are willing to pay so much, and how you can spot one yourself, because understanding the value starts with understanding its production, and in 2018, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents to meet the demands of circulation, each one bearing the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield design on the reverse. But despite the use of high-speed precision machinery, minting is still a process susceptible to mechanical failure, human oversight, and tiny misalignments, and in rare circumstances, those factors combine to produce error coins so unique that they become the holy grail for numismatists. And one of the most dramatic and valuable of these errors in the 2018 D series is the double die variety, which occurs when the hub that impresses the coin's design onto a working die shifts between impressions, creating a doubled image that can appear in the inscriptions such as "Liberty in God We Trust," or the date itself, and under magnification this doubling becomes obvious, giving the letters or numbers a ghost-like shadow effect, and collectors prize such examples for both their rarity and visual appeal. And when a doubled die is combined with a pristine mint state condition, full red luster, and verified grading from an authority like PCGS or NGC, the value can climb astronomically. But that's just one error type. Another highly desirable error is the off-center strike, where the coin is not properly seated in the press and the design is struck off-center, leaving part of the blank planchet visible, and the more extreme the off-centering, particularly when it exceeds 50% but still leaves the date and mint mark visible, the more valuable it becomes. And then there's the wrong planchet error, where the Lincoln design is mistakenly struck on a metal blank meant for another denomination, such as a dime planchet, which results in a coin that is smaller, lighter, and often a completely different color due to the copper-nickel composition of the dime blank, making it an immediate standout to anyone familiar with normal penny characteristics. And for the 2018 D penny, such a wrong planchet strike can easily place it into the elite tier of high-value modern errors. And there are also die break and die crack errors, where the die used to strike the coin develops a fracture, causing raised lines or blobs of metal to appear on the struck coin, sometimes creating what is called a cud, when a piece of the die face breaks away entirely, leaving a void in the design that fills with extra metal during striking, creating a distinctive, highly collectible blob, and collectors are fascinated by these because they are unique to each damaged die and can be tracked like fingerprints of the minting process. And in 2018 there were reports of minor die cracks in Denver minted cents, but the most valuable ones are those with large, dramatic breaks combined with other errors, making them almost one of a kind. And then you have multiple strike errors, where the coin is struck more than once, sometimes with rotation between strikes, leading to overlapping images that can be disorienting but visually stunning. And when such an error occurs on a recent date like 2018 D, the combination of novelty and rarity drives intense collector competition. But beyond these mechanical anomalies, what truly makes certain 2018 D 1-cent coins reach $0.7 million is the intersection of rarity, condition, and collector demand. Because while older coins may have age and history on their side, modern coins with severe errors are often preserved almost immediately upon discovery, and if a rare error escapes into circulation, is found quickly in pristine condition, and is authenticated and graded at a top mint state level, it becomes a showpiece in a high-end collection, and provenance can boost value further. If the coin has been featured in a major numismatic publication, auction catalog, or media report, it gains a reputation that makes it even more desirable, and market psychology plays a huge role, with collectors often willing to outbid one another to secure a coin they believe may never appear for sale again in their lifetime, and that competitive atmosphere at auctions or private sales can push already high prices into record territory, which is how a coin like this can leap from a technical value of a few thousand into the hundreds of thousands, even hitting the $0.7 million mark when the circumstances align perfectly. and while finding one is incredibly rare, stories of modern pennies worth life-changing sums fuel the treasure-hunting instincts of coin roll searchers, casual collectors, and even people who don't normally think about numismatics but are captivated by the idea that a small copper-plated zinc coin from less than a decade ago could pay off a house, and examples have been found in bank-wrapped rolls, change received from everyday purchases, and even in inherited jars of coins, often by people who had no idea what they were looking at until they researched or showed it to an expert, which is why magnification, good lighting, and knowledge of error characteristics are key tools for anyone hoping to discover one, and it's important to remember that condition matters immensely. A coin with the same type of error but showing heavy wear will be worth far less than one in mint state. And that's why experts recommend placing any suspicious coin in a protective holder immediately and avoiding cleaning it, as cleaning can damage the surface and dramatically reduce value. And for those who want to understand the minting process more deeply, errors like the ones found on the 2018 D penny are often the result of a chain reaction of small faults, such as slight die misalignment, improperly prepared planchets, or feeding mechanism failures, that interact in just the wrong way to create a truly exceptional mistake. And because modern minting is so efficient and automated, these errors are exponentially rarer today than they were in earlier decades, making them even more significant when they occur, and over time, as more collectors enter the market and fewer pristine examples remain available, prices are likely to climb further, cementing the 2018 D 1-cent error coin's place among the most coveted modern rarities. So next time you get change from a store or open a bank roll, take a close look at any 2018 D pennies you come across, examine the date, mint mark, lettering, and design alignment carefully, weigh it to see if it matches standard specifications, check for any unusual coloration or thickness, and if you spot anything unusual, have it evaluated by a professional, because you just might be holding a piece of modern minting history worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, a coin that proves even in our high-tech era, the mint is still capable of producing the kind of happy accidents that turn ordinary people into extraordinary finders of hidden treasure. And that's the enduring magic of coin collecting, a blend of history, art, science, and luck that can transform a single cent into something truly priceless. Next, 1989 1-cent coin. Now we explore the fascinating world of rare coins, unbelievable valuations, and the incredible stories behind small pieces of metal that end up being worth fortunes. And today we're diving into one of the most jaw-dropping discoveries in the coin collecting community, the 1989 United States 1-cent coin. A humble Lincoln penny that in certain rare cases has been valued at an astonishing $1.6 million, all because of its unusual and rare errors, mistakes, and minting quirks that transform what most people see as ordinary pocket change into a treasure trove for collectors and investors alike. And before you assume this is just hype, let's walk through the details that make this year and this denomination so exceptional, because it's not just one simple flaw, it's a combination of potential errors, variations, and minting circumstances that can catapult its value into the stratosphere. Starting with the fact that 1989 was an interesting year in the history of the Lincoln cent, as it was minted primarily from a copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982. Which made the coins lighter and cheaper to produce but also more susceptible to certain striking and plating errors, meaning that this change in metal composition opened the door for a number of unusual mistakes to occur during production, some of which were subtle and others dramatically visible, making them more attractive to seasoned collectors. And when we talk about a 1989 penny being worth $1.6 million, we're talking about an example that combines extreme rarity with an error type that is both difficult to replicate and nearly impossible to find in circulation today, such as double die obverse, where the lettering or date appears double due to a misalignment in the hubbing process, which can be seen in strong doubling on words like liberty, or I in God we trust, or the date itself. And such doubling must be distinct and visible to the naked eye for collectors to place a premium value, or off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the planchet was not properly seated in the striking chamber, creating an unusual crescent shape and revealing blank metal where design elements should be, and in extreme cases where 50% or more of the design is missing yet the date is fully visible, the rarity skyrockets. Or broad strikes where the collar die fails and the coin expands beyond its normal dimensions without a rim, giving it a unique flattened appearance. Or even transitional errors where a small batch of coins is struck with the wrong metal planchet entirely, like a 1989 cent accidentally struck on a copper planchet left over from pre-1982 stock, or even a foreign coin blank, making it stand out in both weight and color. And then there are the dramatic die cracks and die breaks, which occur when the dies used to strike the coins develop fractures, leaving raised lines or blobs of extra metal known as cut errors that collectors love, because they are like the fingerprints of a specific die's deterioration. And some 1989 pennies also exhibit plating blisters or peeling due to poor adhesion between the zinc core and the copper plating, creating an eye-catching surface texture that can range from small bubbles to large patches. And while some of these minor plating issues may not add much to the value, when combined with a major error they can make a coin even more desirable. And beyond minting errors, condition plays a huge role in valuation, with coins graded at the highest levels, such as mint state 68 or higher by PCGS or NGC, commanding astronomical prices due to their pristine luster, sharp strike, and lack of wear. And in the case of a 1989 penny that hits the market with both a spectacular error and a near-perfect grade, the price can soar past $1 million at auction. Especially if there's a bidding war among elite collectors. And part of the allure comes from the fact that many 1989 era pennies have long been pulled from circulation by sharp-eyed collectors, meaning the number of surviving top-quality examples is extremely small, and with each passing year, that scarcity increases, further driving up demand and value. And imagine the possibilities when you consider that some coins may have combinations of errors, such as a double die averse with an off-center strike and a die crack. Something so rare it might only exist in a handful of known examples, making it essentially priceless to the right buyer. And it's also important to consider the historical context, as 1989 was before the age of widespread online auction sites. So many era coins from that period were either overlooked or sold privately. And now, decades later, those that resurface often do so with incredible provenance, adding to their mystique. And collectors also value coins with proof-like qualities or satin finishes if struck from specially prepared dies, even if they are not official proof coins, because such coins stand out visually and are instantly recognizable as special. And when you combine the romance of numismatic history, the tangible beauty of a well-preserved coin, and the adrenaline rush of knowing you might be holding something worth more than a luxury home, it's easy to see why stories of million-dollar pennies captivate the public imagination. And the 1989 penny's path to a $1.6 million valuation is really a story about probability and passion, because while millions of 1989 cents were minted, only a microscopic fraction possessed the combination of extreme error, pristine condition, and collector demand necessary to command such a figure. And this is why people still search their pocket change, their old jars of coins, and inherited collections, because lightning can and does strike in the world of coin collecting. And for those lucky enough to find such a treasure, it's not just about the monetary value but also the thrill of discovery, the connection to history, and the knowledge that something so small can carry such immense worth. And so whether it's a bold double die, a dramatic off-center, a rare transitional planchet, or a spectacular die break, the 1989 penny stands as a shining example of how the tiniest minting imperfections can transform ordinary currency into legendary artifacts that collectors will pay extraordinary sums to own. And as the numismatic market continues to grow, fueled by passionate enthusiasts, online communities, and high-profile auction sales, the legend of the 1989 1-cent coin worth $1.6 million will continue to inspire people to look more closely at the coins in their hands, because you never know when you might stumble upon that once-in-a-lifetime find hiding in plain sight, waiting to change your life forever. Last, today we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, a journey that takes us into the history, rarity, and unbelievable value of a small yet extraordinary piece of American numismatic heritage, the 1984 1-cent coin, which in certain rare and remarkable cases can be worth as much as $0.4 million due to its unique errors, striking anomalies, and production mistakes. A coin that on the surface appears to be just another ordinary Lincoln cent but in truth hides secrets that only a trained eye and experienced collector could appreciate. And as we explore the reasons behind its incredible value, we will uncover the multiple possibilities that have contributed to making this seemingly simple copper-plated zinc coin one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic market, beginning with the year 1984 itself. A time when the U.S. Mint was fully entrenched in the production of zinc-based cents after the 1982 transition from solid copper, a change that brought with it not only different metal compositions but also an entirely new set of minting challenges, including issues with planchet quality, die wear, and striking precision, each of which could lead to unique varieties and rare error coins. And in the case of the 1984 cent, one of the most famous errors to emerge was the double die obverse, a striking variety where the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse appears doubled in certain areas, most notably in his ear, leading to what collectors famously refer to as the extra ear variety, an error that is not the result of damage or post-mint alteration but rather a genuine doubling during the hubbing process when the working die was improperly impressed with the design hub, creating the illusion of a second ear behind the first. And this feature alone, when preserved in high mint state condition, can catapult the value of the coin from a single cent to hundreds of thousands of dollars, because collectors are always eager to secure sharp, well-defined examples of such dramatic doubling. And when we consider that the 1984 extra ear double die obverse is already a recognized variety in major grading guides and numismatic catalogs, it's easy to see why pristine specimens with strong strike, original mint luster, and no signs of cleaning or damage could achieve astronomical prices. But that's just one of the factors contributing to the 1984 cent's potential $0.4 million valuation, because other minting mishaps from that year also play a role, including off-center strikes where the design is noticeably shifted from the planchet's center, broad strikes where the coin was struck without a retaining collar leading to a stretched and warped shape, clipped planchets where a portion of the blank metal is missing due to a misfeed in the punching process, die cracks that create raised lines across the surface, and cuds where a piece of the die breaks away entirely, leaving a raised blob-like area on the coin, all of which, when combined with rarity, strong eye appeal, and historical context, can dramatically increase value, especially if these errors are paired with the double die obverse or occur in extremely high grades certified by top grading services such as PCGS or NGC. And to fully appreciate why such coins can reach a value of $0.4 million, we must consider the interplay of condition, rarity, demand, and provenance, because in the numismatic world it's not enough for a coin to be rare. It must also be in exceptional condition and backed by market demand from passionate collectors who recognize its significance. And with the 1984 cent, certain examples have emerged in nearly flawless mint state 68 red grades, coins that retain their full blazing original red copper color without the slightest hint of tarnish or wear. Coins that were likely pulled from original bank rolls shortly after minting and preserved under optimal conditions for decades. And when these gems also exhibit the dramatic double die ear or other rare striking anomalies, the bidding wars they inspire at major coin auctions can push prices into the hundreds of thousands, and in some cases private sales among elite collectors, fueled by the prestige of owning one of the finest known examples, can reach or even exceed the $0.4 million mark. And of course the allure is not just in the rarity but in the story behind each coin, the idea that such a small piece of metal could survive the chaos of circulation, the ravages of time, and the indifference of millions of hands to finally emerge decades later as a recognized treasure, a story that adds a romantic quality to its tangible monetary worth. And while some may dismiss the idea of a penny being worth nearly $500,000 as mere hype, seasoned numismatists know that history is full of precedents where coins of humble face value have sold for staggering amounts due to unique errors, low mintage, and exceptional condition, making the 1984 cent just another chapter in the long tradition of great numismatic discoveries. And when we think about the possibilities for error coins from this year, We must also consider transitional errors such as coins struck on leftover copper planchets from pre-1982 stock, which would give them a heavier weight of 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams for zinc cents. A mistake that could occur if old planchets were accidentally fed into the presses, and such transitional errors are highly prized because they are essentially relics of a bygone minting era, combining the newer design with the older composition, creating a coin that should not exist according to official mint records, and when authenticated and graded in high condition, these transitional 1984 copper cents could easily push into six-figure territory, especially if they also exhibit other errors like off-center strikes or die doubling, making them dream finds for collectors and treasure hunters alike. And we cannot forget that the 1984 cents value is also supported by its recognition in educational resources, era coin reference books, and major auction catalogs, all of which give it legitimacy in the eyes of investors who see rare coins as both historical artifacts and tangible assets, which is why stories of people finding such coins in pocket change, inherited collections, or old jars of pennies continue to spark public fascination, because it suggests that treasure might still be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a keen eye to discover it, and that sense of possibility drives people to search through rolls from the bank, flea market finds, and estate sales, hoping to spot the telltale extra ear, the misaligned die, the clipped edge, or the heavier copper weight, each sign a clue that they might be holding a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when you factor in the excitement of the hunt, the historical context of the mid-1980s minting environment, and the incredible premiums that condition and rarity can command, it's no wonder the 1984 1 cent with its unique errors has captured the imagination of both veteran numismatists and curious newcomers, serving as a reminder that sometimes the smallest details, barely visible to the naked eye, can make the biggest difference in value, turning a humble penny into a record-breaking collectible and a piece of American history that will be admired, studied, and sought after for generations to come, a legacy that ensures the 1984 cent's place in the pantheon of great U.S. coin rarities and proves once again that in the world of coin collecting, it truly pays to look closely at every coin you come across because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in your hand.